Hello, everybody. It's Cheryl. Welcome back to Muppin Sewing Emporium. How are you doing today? It is Friday, and that means it's time for our Friday night live show. How are you doing? Hopefully, you are doing wonderfully well. I am. And today we have some fun things. We are going to be learning something new tonight. I'm excited as always to show you the new things. We are finished, wrapped up with our candle wicking. And my friends, we are very excited at how that turned out. So much going on, getting ready for Quilt Week, which is the last week of April. And my friends, I have two classes that still have room in them for Quilt Week. One of them is a class called What in Carnation? And that is a fabric flower making class that you can sign up for on the AQS website. And also the other class is it's Pleats to Meet You Table Runners, which we always have a fantastic time doing. I have 4 spots in each of those 2 classes. The other 3 classes sold out. These 2 classes almost sold out. So come and see me during Quilt Week. I cannot wait. I'm very excited. Hopefully you are too. My friends, it is a beautiful, not quite warm day here in downtown Paducah, Kentucky. It is a balmy 50-something degrees outside, which, you know, if I were in Chicago, we would have snow. My dad talked to me, as I slide away. My dad talked to me this week. He said they have lots of snow in Chicago, so I'm missing that. But I'm not really missing it. And today, my friends, is my baby sister's birthday. My baby sister. I know. She's not a baby anymore, but she's still my baby sister. And she has a lovely birthday today. So happy birthday, Jennifer. Okay. So if you remember last week, we were working on candle wicking, and it's finished. Look at how cool this came out. All right, I'm going to get the camera over here to look at it because it's so cool. I think it turned out so nice. But you will have to let me know. Look at how cool this ended up being. As you can see, like, it's got all of those beautiful raised French, well, they're not French knots, they're colonial knots. And so look at how fantastic that came out. I think this was a lot easier. It's a lot easier than it looks. Okay. Candle wicking transfers, we have them in stock. As you remember, this is what the transfer looked like. And you just take this and put it down, face down, onto your fabric. And look at how cool that came out. Joy is here. Good evening. Good evening. How are you today? Hopefully you are having a wonderful day. Oops, little thread. Where did this little thread snot come from? This is what it turned out to look like. And I just love it. It's got that sort of like that tone on tone, that white on white, which I absolutely love. But look at just like that raised dimension. So it is all finished. And I am ready to do the next part, which in this case, I would probably do more than one scene, and then I would quilt it, put it in, like, put some borders on it and quilt it. You could do this as a pillow. You could do this as a table runner. You could do it as all kinds of things, but just that yummy, yummy texture of the raised colonial knots. I'm very excited about it. I'm glad to have done it, and that is it. That's our candle wicking project, which we have. It's now all finished, and like I said, these transfers, there's lots of them in here. There's probably over 20 designs. There are borders, single motifs, this welcome, which you could do as like a door hanger, this little baby thing, which you can write the name and the welcome, for the baby, this pillow design. The possibilities here are endless, and I just really kind of love how it came out. So that's what we've got for candle wicking, all finished. So I don't know about you, but I really enjoyed making that. It was a lot of fun. And like I said, this was a lot. I enjoyed learning how to do the knots and turning this into something, like tangible. And I love that. Okay. So I've done that. And the thing we're starting on today, well, I have already started it, but what we're starting on today is, and of course I've got to find the package. Where did I put you? Ah, it's right. You know what? It's like my friends would say, if it was a snake, it would have bit me. Okay, so couple things. We did get some restocks. So we have water brushes back in stock. We have needles back in stock. I know people have been asking, when are the needles back in stock? We had to restock the tubes. So we were good on needles through Quilt Week. So if you've been wanting your needles, now's the time to get them. Okay. These, my friends, are what we're talking about tonight, which is Sashiko. And Sashiko is a Japanese stitching technique. And this one is a very particular kind of Japanese stitching technique. And it is called Hitomezashi. And Hitomezashi is it means one stitch. And it is a technique of technique of Sashiko. Hello, Charlotte. How are you doing today? These are the two kits that we have in stock right now. We have a little Space Invader, and we have a skull. Of course we do. Okay. And I have already started this project, and here's where I'm at so far. But I'm going to show you exactly how to start so that you know how to use these. And trust me when I say this, to me, I could not wait. I had to start it right away. That's how excited I got. And I probably stitched on this for about 4 hours last night. Like, that's how, and how much fun I was having. I didn't want to stop. I actually told myself I had better go to bed. Okay, so here's what we're looking at. Okay, so what this is it comes with a cloth, and that cloth it's basically a long piece. And what you would have is essentially what you do is you fold it over and you trim and stitch the edges, and there is a little stitch guide under here. Okay, so it will tell you where to take these stitches, but it tells you, and of course, it does come with instructions, and the instructions are in both Japanese and English. And so what you're seeing here is it tells you to fold these right sides together, to back stitch here, and then you flip it right side out, and then you are to go around and stitch around all of the edges. And essentially you're making yourself, it's like two pieces of cloth. Now, before you ask me, is this the kind of project that you put in the hoop? The answer to that is no. You don't put this project in the hoop. What you do is you hold it in your hand while you do your stitching. And there is a very particular way that they want you to weave your stitches so that you have a complete, sort of no knots in the body of the work. So we're going to talk about that because I have a spot here where I have stopped. Okay. So, Hitomezashi, which is this type of Sashiko, Hitomezashi means one stitch. And this is a sort of pattern for straight line stitching. So the pattern does tell you, it's down here in the corner, but now it's folded under. But I'm going to show you exactly what they mean. And what you're going to do is you're going to start by stitching, and on the actual fabric, it tells you to start going in the up and north and south direction first. And then you go back and you take all of your east-west stitches. Now, if your pattern has any diagonals in it, and there are other patterns that have diagonals, those diagonals you would do last. You would do, left to right and right to left. And there's just an order to the stitches. Okay. So, and then down here at the bottom, what I did was I wanted to stitch this in kind of a rainbow order. And you can see here how it is telling me to do this stitch in this direction. This is the direction I'm supposed to go first, and this is the area where you're supposed to start. So they want you to start in the middle and work out. And the same thing for left to right. Okay, see there? It says 3. So your stitch number 1 is to go around the outside. Stitch number 2 is north and south. Stitch number 3 is left and right. And it's very, very orderly, which I like. Okay, it keeps my mind very tidy, which is really nice. And so it wants you to do enough thread that you can go from one end of the piece to the other with the thread. And you do so with a single length. And this here is a 12 weight thread. You can also do it with a thinner thread, a 15 weight. You can also do this with, let's say, 2 lengths of a 30 weight. Okay. So here's what I have as far as my needle and thread. And I am using one of our heirloom sewing needles. So that's what we're using here to do this with. And the last place that I did my stitches was right here. So let me just get everything reorganized here. Hopefully you are all having a wonderful evening. I know I am. I have been very busy all week. We've had a bunch of retreat visitors in town. It's always nice to see everybody who is visiting on retreat. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to interweave our stitches with the previous 2 stitches that was done on this cloth. And essentially what I'm doing here is I'm leaving a tail and sewing right basically over the stitches that I had previously done here. And that is going to essentially just be an area of overlap between the previous stitch, the previous yarn, and this one. And so I'm going to leave a little short tail there. And to do this stitch and to do this technique, you are essentially just following anywhere that there is a straight line. So because I'm going north and south here, although I have this whole thing turned, you are essentially just going up where there is a line on the top and back under and coming just up where there is another, straight stitch in this direction. And essentially, this technique, according to everything that I have read, is very similar to it's a form of Sashiko, which is a thread pattern that's stitched by hand onto either a white or a navy background. And in this case, they're all just straight one line of stitching. Okay, so we're taking this long piece of thread and we're stitching through all of these, and we're going through both of the layers of the cloth. So remember I said that we took these 2 layers and we sewed them together here at the edge. You're going through all of those layers. So you're going to, and when we get to the edge here, you're going to see that there's even lines right up to the stitching there, and we're going to go right into those. You want to make sure you complete the entire row. And that's essentially what I'm considering. These are like rows and columns, like almost like it was an Excel spreadsheet. Okay. And I'm going to flip it over so that I can stitch in the opposite direction, as I like to hold the cloth in my left hand and stitch with my right. Now here, we're going to have a stitch that goes across so that I can get to the next row, which is right here, right there next to my fingertip. Hey, Steph, how you doing? Haven't seen you in a long time. How's everything going? I saw you were hanging a quilt in your house. Very exciting. Let's see. So here is where you go in the other direction, and there are going to be spaces where you have a pretty long gap. Okay, there's going to be a long thick thread or long string on the back of the piece, and that is intentional and okay. What's going to happen is as you go through these other sections, you see how that there is broken in just a way, well, that's going to cross over this area, which is really ingenious on how this stitching was designed. So this whole thing, so last night I stitched all of the row. You're hand stitching the sleeve of the quilt that you're hanging, and you're watching me. I appreciate you. And so this type of stitching was really meditative. I know that that's what people say about Sashiko, and that whole idea of the mending, and things like that, the mending with the straight stitch. I just found this to be really, 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 really nice, and I've been enjoying doing this process. And as you can see, my needle is long enough that I'm doing a lot of stacking the stitches onto the needle. Mariana, how are you doing tonight? Oh, it's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while either. Like I was saying earlier, we're getting ready for Quilt Week. And of course, this is going to be a sample in the store. So we've kind of got a little deadline to finish this. And I think I'm on the last row that I'm doing for this color. So we're going to end this at the end of this row. Joy, I'm embroidering my second grandson's birth sampler. How sweet is that, Joy? You're going to need to bring it into the shop and show me. I'm very excited. We had a beautiful quilt brought in by one of our regulars, and she finished this quilt that she'd been working on for 2 years, and it'll be up on our Instagram later. Oh my goodness, it's stunning. I can't wait for you all to see it. It's a Joan of Arc quilt, and it's fantastic. So and so, this process of the Hitomezashi, sorry, the Hitomezashi stitching, I've so enjoyed this. It's very, it's very sweet. Now, I do try to pay attention, and I try to go back and make sure that I have hit all of the straight lines in this section. So, oh my gosh, Mariana's coming to Quilt Week. Yay! I love that. That's so great. I can't wait to see you. Charlotte, we should do show and tell. You've been working on your UFOs. So Charlotte is part of many of those Finish Your UFO challenges, and she has been working madly on finishing a number of UFOs in her collection. And so I'm just really excited about her getting those finished. So that's exciting. And so yeah, like last night, I could tell that I was getting tired of stitching when I started to like make mistakes by like skipping over things and whatnot. And so I just like to take the time to go and look to make sure that I haven't missed a spot. And I am taking extra care to make sure that I come up exactly at the intersection here, because I want to make sure that my line is as nice and neat as possible. Because when you have a pattern that is going to be made up of north and south and east and west stitches, it's going to be important for them to meet up at these intersections. And the instructions do tell you to do that. Now, I also, mostly do have to occasionally take this and pull it just slightly, just to make sure that the thread isn't bunching the fabric up. I don't want there to be any lumps or bumps in here. And so I do take care to do that. And as I was saying, typically Sashiko is not embroidered in a hoop. And some people find that really difficult. I typically have been embroidering without a hoop for a long time. I've been doing several tea towels. I have a long standing tea towel project that I used to only take with me in the airport. And it was the only project I ever worked on while I was traveling. And it's far from done, but it was also a project that I never use a hoop with it. I always have the fabric just supported in hand. And then occasionally, like I said, you just have to take the fabric and smooth it to make sure that there's no bunching of the threads. But there are people who, claim that, hooping is the only way to embroider. And I disagree. I've not always used a hoop. And so I many times will not embroider with a hoop. So this is why I find this particularly comforting. But you'll see that sometimes I have to back my needle out and re-go through, just because I want to make sure that I'm hitting those corners exactly. And that's part of what I'm trying to uh, accomplish here with this stitching. And the great thing is that our needles not only fit this thread, but they also are long enough for you to do these long stitches. I also find that with this project, the fabric is loose enough that I do not have to use a thimble. And so that there are specific Sashiko thimbles, and I don't need to use one here, which is kind of nice. So Jerry says, "You like living dangerously." Ooh, outside the hoop. I'm outside the hoop and outside the box, typically. And Jerry has had every family member in his household had a birthday this month. Mary had a birthday, and his kid Nicholas had a birthday. So happy birthday. um, it's my sister's birthday today, my baby sister. She's not a baby anymore. Okay, so now we are here at the end, and as you can see, I've got some little dangly colors going on here. And what these are where I am planning to make color changes in order for this project to basically have different colors in it. I know I'm like kind of overcomplicating things always, right? You know me, I'm the person who reads the directions and then just sort of kind of follows them. So we've got sweet tea in the canister today. And so here is where I was planning to switch to from green to teal. Now I am doing this in like a rainbow color order. It'll be pink, then red, orange, and then yellow, and then here's the green, and so on. And because this is completely stitched in one direction and then stitched in the other direction, what will happen is I will then take those same colors and work them in the opposite direction. And so there will be like a section of pink and then red and so on, and they will only match in the color section that they'll be where they, where those same colors cross over, but the rest will sort of blend interestingly. So what we have to do here at the end is we are going to do a change of color. And in order to do that, I'm going to send the thread here into the center between the two folds. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the needle and I'm just going to sort of aim it so that it goes in between the two folds, like so. And that's where I'm going to tie the knot. And the knot is going to be inside the folded edge here. And that's, to make this project very clean and very it's very tidy. And I just love it. So as you can see, we've got those rows happening there, and I'm going to just go ahead and tie this off, and I'm going to take out my little temporary color stitch because I don't need that to be in the way. And I'm going to try to nestle this knot as close to inside of that fold as I can. I kind of want it to be down in there and hidden. And so then what I'm also going to do is just take a stitch through to the back, and that will help that knot sort of get buried in between in there. And then I'll take my scissors and just snip that off. Now, the other thread, the one that we wove into the piece here in the beginning, we just need to trim that little tail off, and you can't even tell that there were two colors there that wove together. That's just how nice and tidy this process is. So this is Hitomezashi, and it is a single stitch version of Sashiko stitching. This is also a good project for, as I roll away, I need one of those mats under the chair where my chair does not roll away all the time. So here I'm going to be using a new color of thread, okay? And this is going to help with that rainbow effect. And I'm only going to use, they only want you to use 2 lengths of the fabric back and forth. So that's what we're going to do. And again, I'm using our needles are in stock, so you can always get these. And this particular thing is called the Daruma Sashiko sampler. So Daruma is a brand from Japan. These are imported. The Sashiko fabric itself, this little kit here comes in the package here, and is $12, and you can get it from our website. And so you have here So now we're going back from the back and back in from the bottom here. And I'm going in between the two pieces again, and I'm coming up right where the first stitch is. And what's going to happen is that knot is going to go and it's going to lay inside here, right along that inside that edge there, and that keeps the lumpy bumpiness from not happening all through the piece, but just in the edges. So it leaves this to be nice and soft. So once again, we're just going down now the north-south direction. And this one's an interesting one because it's the sides of the skull. So I don't know if you can see there, but that's the skull image. That's supposed to be the bottom jaw. Of course, this is the one I had to sew. I wanted to sew this one first. And a lot of people wonder what these cloths are used for. And they are very commonly used as towels. They're used as, like cloths to put things on top of, like on an end table or a nightstand. They are really meant to be used in your home. They're not meant to be like stitched and then just put away. They're very much to be used as a part of your home. And because these lines, before you start to freak out, yes, absolutely, dresser scarves. These lines are washable, so you cannot and should not iron your fabric before you use it, and you cannot and should not get it wet before you are done, because these lines are all water soluble and will disappear. And what I love about that is, unlike other like stamped embroidery, these lines are meant to wash away with Sashiko. Almost all Sashiko kits, the lines are completely temporary and disappear. So they really do wash away. So, don't use this wet hands, that kind of thing. It will just, all of these lines will disappear. And if you use an iron, what you will do is permanently set them. And you don't want to do that. So this is the second color. And once you get the hang of stitching this, oh my gosh, you'll just, stitch away. Now, I will say too, I love projects like this for when I'm doing something where I have to pay attention to something else, right? So if I'm doing this and I'm watching TV, or in this case where I'm talking to you, I can do that. I can look back down at my work. I know right where to take my next stitch. And there are projects I find that are really difficult for me to do that with paying attention to other people, right? Or paying attention to a television show or whatever. A lot of times when I sew and I'm watching TV or whatever, I usually have to have something on that I've already seen so that I can kind of half pay attention to it. But with this, I can more leisurely stitch and talk at the same time. And I find that if you don't, if you have a project like that where you can pay attention and just, look away and then look back and know what you're supposed to do, unlike knitting or cross stitch or something like that. If this were more knitting, if this were more cross stitch, I'd be counting in my head instead of working, and I would constantly lose my place, especially uh with crochet, um and cross stitch. I am the worst at being able to pay attention to do that and this at the same time. So once again, you can just give a little tug on the piece, you give a little tug on the um, thread, and that makes sure that you don't have any bunching or kind of loose loops on the piece when you're done. And you just carry on. And like I said, we're getting up here at the top, which means we're going to flip around and go down the other direction. And I just, um Charlie and I went to a trade show recently where we were looking to bring in new product. And as we were at that event, we ran into the company that imports all of these sort of needlework projects. And I said, maybe it's time that we finally get these done. We finally bring this stuff in. And in the industry, I'm very well known for being into the skull theme. Surprise, surprise. Right, Mr. Spooky? And Mr. Sprinkles is still here. But we didn't, so we saw the Japanese company representative, and we talked for a bit, and that was that. We had to just jump on it, and we decided now was the time. And I'm pretty excited because these are really fun. They're a lot more fun than I thought they would be. So there you go. But I'm enjoying it. And like I said, I mean, just knowing where you're taking your next stitch, super simple. But you do want the stitch to be, very precise. And that does take a little bit of patience. Right? I know it's surprising, right? Me skulls? What? Never. Um as a matter of fact, somebody the other day had posted a thing about the memento mori and the imagery of the skull, and I was like, "See, I'm not the only one." And this iconography has been around in almost every culture, and it's never a dark thing. It's a mortality thing. It's a, live life to the fullest. The vanitas veritas, to live life. So I get it. I am that person. I love a good skull. As a matter of fact, I've got, this one here and this one here and these ones right here. They're kind of everywhere. I don't mind it. It's funny. I said to, a friend, I said, "Oh, I really need to refresh my wardrobe. I don't have enough skulls in my wardrobe." Uh, and I thought maybe this is time I weed out all the other non-skull things in my wardrobe. So we will see. Um, yeah, I'm enjoying it. Like I said, this ended up being a very, very enjoyable project. And I wasn't sure, of course, I needed to make one of these as a sample for the shop, but I've had so much fun with it, and I didn't expect. Now look, there's generations of people doing sashiko in Japan for uh for mending and repair, and there's this kind of boro uh thing that's happening in the mending world, with the straight stitches and things like that. And I think that's lovely as well. See if I got a little knot in the thread. Let's see what that's going to do. Okay, it still lets me pop it through. That's what I get for not paying attention. But as long as it lets me pop that knot through, I will try to see if it will be down towards the end and I can just weave it out. So you're jumping in late, no problem. Pearl cotton or floss. This is a 12, this is just 12 weight thread. This is an Aurifil thread. There is a Sashiko thread that you can get specifically, and we are looking to bring in the Sashiko thread for this. But if you get one of these Sashiko Hitomezashi fabrics from us, you can use your existing 12 weight thread, or you can use 2 strands of floss, or you can use a 30 weight thread and double thickness it. So there's a bunch of different options. Typically the Sashiko thread is a single thread like this. And so this is done with a single 12 weight thread. And so from that perspective, it's really nice because I think it tells you on the package how many hanks of thread you will need. And it does tell you that here. To do this whole thing, you will need 2 of the Sashiko thread thin, which is the thickness that I'm using here, and you will need 40-meter hanks of that. And we do have that thread coming. I wanted to check that it was, what it is. So a hank of thread is like this. I have one in my bag. It's very much like what you would think of for embroidery floss. Okay, they are called hanks. It's a hank of thread. You're very welcome, Kathy. Yep. So that is a hank of thread. And it says right on here that there's 40 meters in this hank. And so they will tell you that this is a hank. So just like your embroidery floss or whatever, the embroidery floss comes, or the Sashiko thread comes like this as well. And I just want to show you though, like just how kind of nice that thread is. It's like really, really well twisted. It's got like a really nice matte finish, real pretty. So this is a Hank. um and so yeah, so this is what it will look like, and they will be in the various colors. We are going to get a lot of colors, and we are going to get the traditional indigo blue and the traditional white for the other Sashiko kits, because we are looking at bringing in other Sashiko kits. And again, they're just going to be like these pre-printed cloths that will have designs on them, and then you will be able to get the thread that goes with it. And like I said, right here on the back, it'll tell you 2 of these 40-meter hanks will do the whole process, the whole thing. And these are really, like, you would think, okay, they're imported from Japan, right? A lot of you would think, oh my gosh, Cheryl, they're going to be so expensive. And they're not. They're really not. The company that brings them in has done so in a way that's really, really cost effective for those of us here. And so, like, one of these is like $3, $3 or $4. And I feel like that's wonderfully reasonable for as high quality as it is. And of course, just the amount of stitching that you're going to be doing in this project, it's just yeah. a hank of burnin' love. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Now, the other project in that we have in right now is the Sashiko Invader, and it's a space invader. And so all of my geeky friends, we had to bring these in because, of course, little space invaders. But once again, you're just stitching all of the stitches in the north direction, and then you'll come back and do them all in the south direction to complete it. There are some other designs, and we are going to bring those in. There's trees, there's little houses. They're just adorable, and I feel like this whole process, these Japanese stitching samplers, they're great for meditation projects. They're great for stress relievers, relaxation. Like I said, I did all of the outside stitching and 90% of that green in just a couple of hours, and I was like, I need to go to bed, and I didn't want to go to bed. I wanted to keep stitching. And so great little travel project, because this is all you need, right? This and maybe a little tiny pair of snips. This is a complete thing once you add the thread. And this is how much room it takes up. It's like teeny tiny. So you get yourself one of these little zip bags, and you have that project that goes with you everywhere you go. Like I said, I'm in love with it. I'm having a great time with it. I had just as much fun, doing the candle wicking. And I thought the candle wicking was also a great amount of fun. But this one, I just got to say, I'm really enjoying it. Now, don't worry about these stitches here. Like I said, they're my color change indicators. That's just so I have already marked out where the colors are going to go and change. I've sort of counted out how many rows were here, and determined how much each color was going to get. And so for my information, that's what these little strings here are just where I'm going to do the color changes. But we've got some beautiful colors, and then once we add those colors going the other way, yeah. YouTube videos talking straight stitch. Now you see what they're demonstrating. Well, this is a straight stitch when it comes to Hitomezashi, right? This is very specifically straight stitch for this, but I think that the straight stitch in embroidery is really similar. It's just that each of these lengths are more connected to each other. So they call that like a stem stitch or something like that. But this here is a very simple, because it's just a running straight stitch to cover the north and south lines. So anywhere there's a straight line on the cloth is where you're going to stitch a straight line over the top of it. And your goal is to cover all of those lines. And then when you rinse this, all of these marks will come out. And it does say that very clearly in the instructions. And it says, when stitches are done, remove the basting and wash off the pattern before the fabric gets completely dry. Iron it from the reverse side. So, I mean, it tells you, do not wash it first. Do not press it first. This is what you're supposed to do. So it does come with English instructions. It doesn't leave you hanging trying to figure out things in Japanese. It is also in English. And I really just love this. This has been a lot of fun to do. So my friends, I have to say, this one, you're going to want to try it. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's currently on sale. We do have a new section of our website, and the new section of our website is called, what is it called? It's called Learn Something New. And it's full of kits, techniques. The candle wicking is there. The Sashiko is there. All of these different things that are maybe new to you, for you to try something new. Perhaps you're in the market for learning a new technique. That's where you're going to want to go on our website, shop.muppin.com. And as always, I hope that you get some sewing done today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe. Take care of yourselves. I will see all of you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.